All right, before we dive in, I want to start by setting the tone for this conversation. This is not a productivity talk where I'm going to tell you to do more, to wake up early, or push a little harder. This is about understanding why your brain feels tired even when your calendar doesn't look full. If you've ever felt overwhelmed before the day even starts, like your mind already has too many open tabs, then this conversation is for you. So, a quick introduction. My name is Tamberly, and I am the founder of the Digital Wellness Journal, also known as DWJ. DWJ is built around one core belief: we don't need more motivation, we need better systems that support our real life. Now, I work with women who are smart, capable, and responsible, but mentally overloaded. They're managing work, home, relationships, ideas, and all the expectations, mostly inside of their heads, right? So at DWJ, everything we create is rooted in one philosophy: define it, design it, live it. Now, what that means is we define what's actually going on, not what we wish was happening. We design systems that reduce mental strain, and then we live it from those systems instead of surviving on memory and willpower. What I'm going to walk you through today is called the Executive Brain Dump Protocol. And when I say executive, I don't mean a job title, okay? I mean the part of your brain that plans, decides, remembers, and manages everything. Your brain is acting like the CEO of your life. And right now, that CEO is doing too many jobs at one time. The system is designed to do two things. This system, sorry, is designed to do two things. One, reduce mental load, meaning all the things you're holding in your head. And two, close open loops. Those unfinished thoughts, reminders, and don't forgets that keep popping up, those are mental, those are open loops, right? So by the end of this conversation, my goal is simple. I want you to understand why your brain feels overloaded, and I want you to leave with a clear, repeatable system you can actually use. No complicated apps, no perfect routines, just a smarter way to work with your brain instead of fighting it. So let's start by talking about what's really going on in your head. The quote on the screen says, "You aren't tired because you did too much. You are tired because you are holding too much." That is the diagnosis. Most people think that the problem is time or energy, but it's actually mental storage. Your brain is holding unfinished business all day long. Things that you haven't done yet, things that you don't want to forget, things that you're responsible for, and things that no one is tracking but you. In psychology, this is called open loops. There's this there's something called the Zeigarnik effect, which simply means your brain remembers unfinished tasks better than finished ones. So every email that you didn't send, every appointment that still needs to be scheduled, every idea you don't want to lose, and every "I'll do it later," your brain keeps those running in the background. And so I like to think of it and describe it like this: Your brain is running like 50 background apps at the same time. They're all running at one time. Imagine that. And what happens with your cell phone when you got too many apps open at one time? It slows down and it starts draining the battery, right? That is what is happening to us. Our batteries are draining fast because of this mental storage of all the things that's going on. And that's why you wake up tired, you feel overwhelmed before your day even starts, and why your focus feels harder than it should be. And here's the most important part though. This is not a motivation problem, okay? You don't need more discipline, you don't need another planner. You don't need to try harder. What you actually need is what I call externalization protocol. And what that means is that we stop forcing the brain to store everything and we start moving information out of our heads and into a system. Your brain is great at thinking, but it is terrible at being a storage unit. So the solution isn't to push your brain to do more. The solution is to relieve it, right? So that's what this entire protocol is about. Getting the data out of our heads, closing open loops, and giving your brain room to breathe again. Now that we understand the problem, let's talk about the philosophy that guides the solution. Okay, so we understand the problem and we need to talk about the mindset shift that makes this solution work. Okay, now this slide here is the backbone, it's my signature framework that I use inside DWJ. And it's simple: define it, design it, and live it. Now, most people try to manage chaos by reacting to it. They wake up, they check their messages, they respond to what's loud, and they hope to remember everything that matters, right? That's what I call operating on routine. Routine sounds responsible, but in this context, it usually means I hope to remember to do this. I'll try to keep this in my head and I'll get to it eventually. The problem is, hope is not a system, right? A protocol is different. A protocol says, I don't need to remember this because I have a trusted system that holds it for me. That's the shift we're making, okay? So instead of asking, how do I keep up with everything? We ask, how do I design a flow that supports me? This is where overwhelm turns into strategy, right? When you define what's actually happening without judgment, when you design a system that matches your real life and you get to live it with more clarity and less mental noise, right? So today isn't about fixing you. There's nothing wrong with you, okay? We're moving from holding everything in our heads to designing a system that does the holding for us. Now that we've set the philosophy, let's get practical and walk through the first phase of the protocol. Okay, this is where the system actually begins, right? Phase one is the capture phase. This is the most important thing to understand here. You are not solving anything, okay? Hear me when I say that. You are not solving anything. You are not organizing. You are not prioritizing. You are not making any decisions. All you're doing here is getting the stuff out of your head. And most people get stuck here because they try to organize while they think. And that creates friction, right? And friction is what keeps us from moving forward, keeps us from starting. So the instructions is simple. Stop trying to organize while you think. Just capture. All right. So here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna open up a blank document, a your notes app, paper and pen, whatever you have on handy. And you're gonna set a timer for 15 minutes. That's all you need. And for those 15 minutes, you are going to write down everything that is currently taking up space in your brain. Not just work stuff, not just the important stuff, but every single thing. Okay? Maybe it's that email that you keep postponing. Maybe you need to make a grocery run. Maybe it's a new idea for a project or some content creation. Maybe it's an appointment that you still need to make. Or maybe your car is making some noise and you need to go get that checked out. Even the things that are low key and you don't really name, put it on the paper. If it's in your head, it goes on the list, right? And this rule matters. Do not filter, do not prioritize, just export, okay? That's all you're doing. You are allowed to be messy, you are allowed to repeat, and you are allowed to have random thoughts on the list, all right? This is not a to do list, it is only a mental download. What you're doing here is telling your brain you don't have to hold it anymore. I've got it, okay? And for most people, this is the first moment they actually feel their shoulders drop. Now, sometimes we can wear our shoulders like we're wearing earrings, right? That's how heavy they get. So once you release all this mental noise, your shoulders drop. You can relax. And only then can you move to the next step, okay? All right, so now that we've got all the noise out of our heads, we shift from relief to clarity. Up until this point, you've done the hard part. You've captured the mess, right? Now we need to sort it. But we don't do it by staring at it, at the list, and getting overwhelmed again. So this is where structure and AI become support tools and not pressure tools, okay? We're going to use the 4Ds framework. It's very simple, it's practical, and it works in real life. Every item on your list falls into one of four categories. So we have do. If something takes less than 2 minutes, just go ahead and do it, right? So if you need to send an email that's not going to take but 2 minutes, do it. Confirm an appointment, do it. Pay a bill, do it. Small things close open loops fast. Okay. Then there's delegate. This is where a lot of people get stuck because they think delegation means failure, but it doesn't. And I'm a little guilty of this too because I don't like to ask for help, but we're learning, right? And that's what delegation means. It means asking, can you can your partner help with this? Can I get a VA to handle this? Can AI draft this for me? And it's okay to ask for those help, okay? You don't lose control by delegating, you gain capacity. And then there's defer. This one is critical. If something matters but doesn't need to happen today, it must be given a date. Not a thought, not a sticky note, but a real place on your calendar, right? And once it has a date, your brain can let it go. And then, last but not least, we have delete. Ask yourself honestly, is this actually necessary or is it just noise? Not everything deserves your energy, right? Deleting is not quitting, it's protecting your peace. Remember that. Now, here's the tech tip that I want to share. You can take your raw brain dump and paste it directly into ChatGPT and say, sort this list using the 4Ds framework. Simple as that. Now, know that you're not asking AI to think for you, okay? You're asking it to organize the data so that you can make better decisions, right? And once the list is sorted, the chaos stops feeling personal. It becomes manageable. And that sets us up perfectly for the final phase where we stop repeating the same stress over and over again. So, this next phase is the part where most people skip. They dump their thoughts, maybe organize them once, and then repeat the same overwhelm next week. We're not going to do that. This phase is called the design phase. And this is where tasks stop being one-time fixes and start becoming systems, right? So here's the mind shift for this. When something keeps showing up on your brain dump, it's not a task problem. It's a system gap, right? So instead of asking, how do I get this done? We need to ask, why does this keep draining me? We need to look closely at the items on our deferred that we deferred in the last step because those are our clues. If if the same type of task keeps appearing, then that's your signal. So for example, if you constantly stress about how to respond to emails, you don't need more reminders, right? You need a email template or automation. If content creation keeps overwhelming you, the issue isn't creativity. You need a content framework. If you're always forgetting steps in a process, that's not a memory issue. You need a simple SOP, a standard way you do that certain thing every time, right? At DWJ, this is what we call designing your life instead of reacting to it. Systems do the remembering for you, right? Systems reduce decision fatigue and they protect your energy. And this is where AI also become a true partner for you. Not because it replaces you, but because it helps you build repeatable structure faster. You're not you're no longer solving today's problem. You're designing so that the problem doesn't become next week's problem again, right? And once you experience that shift, everything seems to change. Now, let's wrap up this by pulling the entire protocol together and showing you how actually to use it moving forward. If you are sitting here thinking, wow, I feel lighter just understanding this better, That's not an accident because that's clarity, and clarity creates relief, right? Today, we walk through the executive brain dump protocol. That is the manual way to clear your mind. You learn how to get the data out of your brain, sort it without judgment, and design a system so the same stress doesn't keep coming back. But here's the honest truth: as a practical architect, I believe in efficiency, right? If something can be supported, I think it should be. And that's why I built a tool called the Task Triage Bot. Because the question becomes, why sort your chaos manually when AI can do it for you? The Task Triage Bot is a pre programmed bot with the 4Ds framework. You simply paste in or dictate your messy list exactly the way it comes out of your head. Okay, remember, no filters, you ain't got to make it pretty. And the bot will help you filter the noise, protect your peace, and identify what actually matters right now. And it turns overwhelm into a clear, simple plan for you. This isn't about outsourcing your thinking, it's about protecting your mental bandwidth, right? And that's what DWJ is really all about: designing life with intention, using tools that support your humanity instead of draining it. So here's my invitation: don't leave here trying to remember everything we talked about. That would defeat the whole purpose, right? Instead, leave knowing this: you don't need to hold it all in. You just need a system that holds it for you. So I want to thank you for hanging out with me. Your mind deserves rest and your life deserves design. And the link for the free bot is going to be below this video. Grab it, use it, and start reducing that mental load.